Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome
Hello.
to the Conspiracy Crunch. We are back for episode 4 today. Exciting stuff indeed.
It will be indeed.
Yeah.
Got 2 new exciting topics to talk about.
Yeah, and it is going to be great, really. It's going to be great having the opportunity to talk about that today. Sorry we're a bit late on the air today. We've had a few complications trying to get on. Basically, we set up the show and I turned to Abby. I said, we must have forgotten something. It's never that easy to set up.
No, it's been way too easy.
Yeah, it took us about 30 seconds. Normally we've got to take a few minutes. So after we set up, I just thought, right, do everything again just to make sure it's actually been done right.
Double check.
But, yeah, I think we're good to go.
Yeah, we haven't introduced ourselves though.
No, we haven't actually, have we? If you are new to the show, this is the Conspiracy Crunch, whether you're listening live on Radio Hud or if you are listening on our YouTube channel on demand, then this is the Conspiracy Crunch. My name is Aaron Chandler.
And I am Abigail Murphy.
And thank you very much for joining us. Like I said earlier, this is episode 4 of the Conspiracy Crunch. And today we have got 2 very interesting subjects for you. First of all, we have the Xinjiang re-education camps, which is going to be the first half of the show. And the second half, we have the conspiracy of Gary McKinnon. So you will have to stay tuned to find out about him. But for the time being, let's get straight in on the Xinjiang re-education camps.
So this has been a big story in recent months and weeks across the world. This large, heavily guarded security complex is in Detention Desert in the far west of China. Its construction was never officially confirmed by the Chinese government to international media, and despite being built in 2014, it was not fully investigated until much later. It was discovered after a satellite passed over the desert in August 2018, which in 2015 was shown to be a completely empty, barren expanse of desert. So the compound had apparently appeared from nowhere with no official purpose.
Yeah, this is already sort of, it's a very sort of espionage sort of program from what you can get from that. But when confronted by its existence, the Chinese government did have a story at hand. The Chinese government's official explanation of what the Xinjiang compound is for states that it is a re-education camp that is for, and I quote, volunteer vocational training. Yeah, which sounds very, very formative.
Yeah.
But however, the truth behind this claim and the actual purpose of the camp has been scrutinised by Western media intensely over the past few months, yielding some quite shocking results, which suggest that Xinjiang is actually a concentration camp designed for imprisoning, Chinese Muslims without a trial. It's quite shocking.
Yeah.
It's a big claim, isn't it?
Quite disgusting.
Yeah, it's we'll go into that more, but first we've got a few big questions that are arising from this.
Yeah, as per the usual, we do have them.
Yeah.
So it's, what is the actual purpose of the camp? Who is being kept there? We've kind of touched on that slightly.
Yeah, we touched on that a little bit,
but we will go into it further.
Yeah, much more detail later on in the show on that.
Yeah, why are they being held there? And how should leading countries react to this news?
Yeah, of course, it's all very well uncovering this huge conspiracy, but if the rest of the world just shrugs their shoulders and goes, then it's kind of pointless, isn't it? So it'll be interesting to see how people react to this news. But before we get into it, we're going to have a look at, if you're thinking like, concentration camps in the 21st century, that's just not possible. Surely we've learnt. We're going to, we don't want to sort of paint a nationality in a certain bad way at all, or we don't want to encourage guilt by association. But we are going to go through some of the past controversies of the Chinese government here, just to give you a bit of a picture on some of the events that have led up to the current structure of China in terms of its state and its fundamental laws. So first of all, you have got Chairman Mao, and I'm sure if you studied history or the Cold War when you were at school particularly, this will be a name that rings a bell, because Chairman Mao was a communist revolutionist in China. I believe he was a librarian's assistant originally, and he went on to lead the communist movement, which crippled the ruling dynasty and left him in charge of the newly founded People's Republic of China in 1949. So he's quite a predominant figure in Asian history, Eastern world history, the Cold War as well. He played a huge role in that, and also the Korea War as well.
Yeah, definitely.
He played a big part in. He ruled until his death in 1976, so it's quite clear that he wasn't running in elections.
No.
And Yeah, but the most controversial of all his policies was the Great Leap Forward from 1958 to 1961. Mao created the Great Leap Forward as an attempt to increase China's food production and exportation industry. This involved the government forcefully confiscating land from farmers across the country and making them hand ownership to the government. This sounds very similar to something that happened in Zimbabwe in the 80s when Robert Mugabe took over.
Yeah, it does.
But obviously it wasn't quite as... The Mugabe regime wasn't quite as extreme as the Great Leap Forward, and we'll go into detail on why that is in a sec. So Mao wanted China to have the same international exportation profits as Britain. He said within 15 years, but he then corrected that to within a year of making the policy. And over 500,000 people were executed for opposing the government's wishes. As a consequence of the Great Leap Forward, a famine occurred due to the trained farmers either being stripped of their land, killed, or both. This famine caused the deaths of at least 16.5 million people in a 3-year time frame. But some independent experts have said the number could be as high as 40 million, which would make it the biggest famine in human history.
That is incredibly extreme.
So even the lowbrow one there, 16.5, is a phenomenal amount of people. Where you think how many people died during... How many people were killed during the Holocaust?
Yeah.
Well, it was less than 16.5 million, wasn't it?
That was 6 million, I believe.
Yeah, so...
6 point something million,
yeah. So they killed twice... So in China, twice the amount of people died in half the amount of time than what happened in the Holocaust.
And to think that they'd be able to do something like that within a year, that's not possible.
No, it's absolutely insane how... Like, the death toll on that. And then 16.5 is a lowbrow. Imagine if it was 40 million.
No.
No, there you go. There's sort of like an insight on China's early struggles.
Yeah, it's incredibly shocking.
Yeah, I mean, we could do, like... I mean, if this was a history show, we could spend the whole show talking about the Great Leap Forward. But obviously this isn't a history show.
It's a conspiracy show.
Yeah, but of course we do have to, like, sort of... segue into different subjects. Like, there's going to be some sciencey bits later on for Gary McKinnon.
And we have to cover some background information and stuff like that to give you a better perspective of what's going on.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about the next one?
Yes. You're going to have to help me say this bit because Tiananmen.
Yeah.
So this is Tiananmen Square. This was an incident that occurred in 1989 when a student protest lasting 6 weeks was displaced after the Chinese government declared martial law, sending foot soldiers and tanks into the square to arrest people. Sorry. Protesters blocked the military's advance and were shot down by soldiers with assault rifles and trampled by tanks. No official death toll was confirmed, but estimates suggest that it was between 2,700 to 3,400 deaths, with approximately a further 13,000 wounded.
Yeah, that includes wounds of soldiers and police officers as well. But, of course, Tiananmen Square is most well known for... There's that famous picture of the man standing in front of the line of tanks.
Oh, yeah I've seen that.
Tiananmen Square. Yeah, it is arguably the most iconic photo of the 1980s, or possibly of the 20th century.
Yeah.
I couldn't name... I'd say it's got to be at least in the top 5 of the most iconic pictures of the 20th century. I can't think of 5 bigger than that.
No.
Nah, you've got to think like moon landing pictures. Maybe the JFK assassination. But that wasn't a picture, that was footage.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked again.
We are a little bit.
Let's bring it forward to some more modern problems that they're facing at the moment. And this is one that has, again, been in the news quite a lot. Much like the Xinjiang camps, this has been quite predominant in the news the last couple of weeks. And this is the current ongoing of conflicts in Hong Kong. Excuse me.
No worries.
Yeah. So, as you know, I mean, if you're listening, if you've been keeping up with the news last few weeks, I probably won't have to fill you in on what the what's going on in Hong Kong at the moment. Of course, pro-democracy protests going on pretty much every day throughout the city. And there's a quote here from Phil C.W. Chang on Hong Kong's relation to China at present. He says that Beijing's push for Article 50 legislation and policies aimed at integrating Hong Kong with the mainland, such as the failed introduction of national education the disqualification of pro-democracy legislators, and the co-location of Hong Kong and mainland border checks at the Western Kowloon high-speed rail station, where Simon Chen Man Kit, a Hong Konger and former British consulate employee, got detained. So China is trying to make Hong Kong an official city within Chinese control, but Hong Kong continues to resist and strive for independence from China once and for all. Of course, this isn't new. This has been going on for years.
Yeah, it has been.
I mean, Hong Kong claimed independence from Britain in 1997, and that was the year I was born. So that's it's a while ago now. It's been going on for like my entire lifetime, which, you put that into perspective, is quite scary.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So the next one is social media censorship. So Twitter is banned in China, and over 60 regulation laws on social media exist courtesy of the Chinese government. All internet providers are state-owned, and the Golden Shield law allows Chinese officials to read private messages and forums online without permission from the people who posted them. To this day, searching for Tiananmen Square I was just thinking if I'd pronounced that right there for a second. On Chinese internet will result in a censorship of your search, and your location may be logged by the official government.
That's quite scary, isn't it?
Again, this isn't new. People have known about this for a while.
That's serious, like George Orwell stuff there, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's crazy. That, it's actually kind of daunting. It makes you appreciate what we've got in this country, doesn't it, when you hear about things like this happening. But, one final... we've got a few final bits here. First of all, we've got the execution vans in China. This is a hugely controversial thing in modern-day China. I mean, within China, it's not really allowed to be controversial. But, outside in the Western world and media, this is viewed as a quite inhumane method. So in China, the death penalty via lethal injection was legalized in 1997. Leading up to this, the most common application of the death penalty was via firing squad. Do you think people were still getting shot by firing squad in 1997? It's not that long ago.
It's not.
No. But I mean, I'm just like less than a quarter of a century. Isn't that long at all. But in 2007, execution vans became more commonly used across China and are a mobile method of applying the lethal injection to someone awaiting a death sentence. Lawyer Qi Cheng supported the use of execution vans by saying some places can't afford the cost of sending a person to Beijing, perhaps $250 plus $250 more for the drug. So, for the sake of $400, you're killing someone in the back of a van, basically.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. So, like we said just now, however, this is considered inhumane, and critics outside China have said that it can also be used as a front for organ harvesting.
To be honest, if you're going as far as killing someone in the back of a van, other stuff's gonna be... You can assume that other stuff might be going on. Yeah,
and speaking of other stuff, we've got some other controversies here. So we've got quite a long list of stuff to cover here. But so these include the fact that China has not had an election in its 70 years existence under its name, the People's Republic of China, currently. It has a questionable stance on freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of press, freedom of expression, unfair treatment of rural workers, freedom of religious views, freedom of sexuality, torture, treatment of political prisoners, wrongful executions, the murder of Tibetan civilians, and the fact that until 2001, being gay was officially listed as a mental illness by the Chinese government.
That's a big list.
Yeah, amongst other things, might I add. So, if you're wondering how on earth people around the world can say, how could you accuse a country of having concentration camps? Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That was just sort of to give you an idea of this isn't just like a far-fetched, wacky sort of... I see a lot of claims online about like the mainstream media and the liberal elite and stuff like that. But I just wanted to put that in there to show that it's not just like yarns being spun.
There is other stuff going on to back it up.
There's no smoke without fire in situations like this. And also we're going to move on to some of the more official reports regarding this. So did you want to kick this off?
Yeah, I will. Yeah. So this is a BBC report from 2018. An official investigative journalism report was released by the BBC after months and possibly years of researching into the camps. During their research, one of the chief reporters, John Sudworth, led a team of journalists to China to try and film the camps. They were followed by uniformed and non-uniformed police officials as soon as they arrived. They were told to turn off their cameras and leave the country immediately as they drove up the road leading past the compound. At one point, they were being tailed by 5 police cars, but they were able to keep recording and taking photographs for long enough to prove that the camp had expanded massively since the satellite caught the attention of it in 2015. There is estimated to be up to 1.5 million detainees inside the camp, who, according to theories, were forcefully imprisoned without a fair trial. It is estimated that the site almost doubled in size within a 4-month window in 2018.
So, yeah, there's massive expansion going on here.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it is this report gets a lot more worrying than that. I mean, it's
This is just like the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, exactly that. Because you could say, oh, so what? They made a building twice as big in 4 months. That's no big deal. But once you actually get past the basis of it, there's a lot more to it under the surface.
And they're obviously trying to hide it with the fact that they were told that were followed by police and told to turn off the cameras
like
and leave.
Like we said just now, the stance on freedom of press. So all of the press in China is state-owned. So the government gets to say what is printed in the newspapers. Whereas in this country, obviously, newspapers are independently or stakeholder-owned.
Yeah.
So they're not state-owned newspapers like they have in China or Russia, for example.
Yeah.
So the reporters stopped off in Detention city, which is the closest city to the compound, and attempted to talk to locals. But every time they attempted to talk to locals, the police officers who were following them debriefed the civilians and instructed others not to talk to the reporters. So they called around local numbers and asked locals what the camp was. The general consensus, was that Xinjiang is a re-education camp for people who have problems with their thoughts. Have problems with their thoughts is the exact quote. If this is a re-education centre, then why are there 16 watchtowers and a high double-guarded wall surrounding it?
Yeah, that's OT2.
Yeah, that's not a school. Schools don't have guard towers surrounding them.
No,
not in England they don't anyway. Can you imagine that, going to school and having to go past 16 armed guard towers? I'd just call in sick. I'd call in sick.
You'd be like, oh, nope, I'm not going anywhere near there.
It's not worth getting all through this just to go to double maths and trigonometry. I'm giving it a miss. But yeah, Chinese television has released video footage and photos from within the so-called school, but many skeptics believe that these photos were either set up or not actually taken on the site at all, and were just released as part of Chinese television's sort of like cover-up propaganda scheme.
Yeah, if you're not wanting people to know about what it actually is, you're definitely going to mock stuff up.
Yeah, you're going to cover it up in some shape or form, aren't you?
Yeah, they are. So, following on from this, Chinese government has banned long beards, headscarves, the education of children in Islam, religious instruction of Islam, and even Islamic-sounding names. Government officials are banned from practicing Islam, attending mosques, or even participating in Ramadan.
Yeah.
So, the question is, so why don't Chinese Muslims just leave? Simple. They can't. The Chinese government has put harsh travel limitations and travel bans on the passports of Chinese Uyghur. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Uyghur. That is correct.
Community. Some citizens have also been forced to surrender their passports to the police for safekeeping.
Safekeeping is the actual quote that the citizens were given by the police officers when they were forced to hand over their passports, which is suspect, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, give me that safekeeping. It's like, so can I leave the country? Oh, no. We're still safekeeping your passport for you. You can't go anywhere. But yeah, this is the Uyghur population is like the Uyghur population isn't just exclusive to China. It spreads across a lot of Eastern Asia and Western Europe. Wait, no, other way around. Western Asia and Eastern Europe. So you've got there's like a big population in Turkey of Uyghur Muslims, and then countries through the middle as well. So you've got countries like geography, like Kazakhstan in the middle. There's some Mongolia has a couple too, but it's generally around that sort of area of like the border between Asia and Europe is where they're mostly resided. Interestingly, according to my studies, there's a small hamlet population of Uyghur Muslims in Australia, apparently.
Oh.
But yeah, there you go. They're a little left field, I think, compared to where the rest of them are located. But yeah, the ones in China are you've got an example of Uyghur Muslim from China having issues with the Chinese government. So a Chinese student who was a Uyghur Muslim, I'm not sure what that was. That gave me a heart attack.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm not sure if that came through on the mic, but someone outside just blasted like 2 notes of music out and it nearly sent me through the roof. Okay, focus. So a Chinese student moved permanently to Britain after choosing to study here in 2002. She was from the Xinjiang region and invited her mother to stay for a few days in 2017. But when her mother returned home, she was banned from calling her daughter again by Chinese authorities who searched her house and demanded to know the UK address of her daughter. When it wasn't provided, the mother was sent to the Xinjiang camp and hasn't been heard from since. She will now be aged 68 years old. So there's a 68-year-old woman locked up in one of these camps.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just for a daughter moving away, living in the UK.
Yeah, exactly.
And going to see her.
Yeah. Bit Hotel California, isn't it? You can check out, but you can never leave. So, yeah.
So, this is the aftermath we're going to be talking about now.
Yeah, this is the aftermath of the reports. The aftermath of the reports that have come forward concerning the camps.
So, following this report, a host of new evidence came forward. A German academic discovered documents online detailing local government bids from contractors to build the camp, also showing that there were plans to build dozens more. But Xinjiang is the largest camp that we know of. Business Insider reported that there could be as many as 500 detention camps across China, all illegally, according to UN law, imprisoning people without a trial because of their religious and political views. In Xinjiang alone, there are 15 new security facilities detected in 2017, which is more than the past 6 years in the same area combined.
Yeah, so there were 13 built between 2011 and 2010 and 2016. And then within a 12-month window, they've more than doubled that.
Yeah.
So it's quite strange. This is there's theories online that this is in response to. I'm not sure if you remember the knife terrorist attack in China a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where I think the official casualty was only 2 people, but of course an attack like this in China, because the government is so strict on it, is almost unheard of.
Yeah, it is.
So it was sent shockwaves through China, and people believe that this is the government's response. It's like, oh, just a handful of you are the problem, so therefore all of you are the problem.
Response,
it's a very extreme response. You think that according to official estimates, we should say, obviously there's no official amount of people there because China's refusing to acknowledge what it actually is.
Yeah.
But 1.5 million detainees inside the Xinjiang camp. And then there's reports that there are over 500 camps across China. That is potentially tens of millions of people
that
are being
insane.
Imprisoned. It's actually ridiculous. How have they managed to do this? Like, how did we not find out about this earlier?
Because they don't share anything.
No, that's true.
Because they keep everything so secretive and hidden.
Yeah, and you think, like, there's so many people in China as well.
It is
so many people. There's 1.2 billion the population in China now.
I believe so, something like that.
I'm not sure what the official Uyghur population in China is. Don't quote me on this, but I believe off the top of my head when I was doing research, it's around 30 million in China, roughly. Which, in the perspective of there being 1.2 billion, it's not that many actually.
No, it's not.
It's like barely, 1%-ish.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, it's not many at all, is it? Yeah, it's really not that many. But at the same time, 30 million is a lot of people. So it depends on your perspective. And it seems that Chinese Uyghur Muslims are sort of being forced into a corner by the Chinese government.
They really are.
Like, the only way to get out of being in prison is by leaving. But they can't leave unless you state what religion you are. And if you state what religion you are, you're going to get imprisoned. So they can't really do anything.
No, there's no win-win in that situation.
No, and I think the harshest part about this is people with Islamic sounding names can get arrested. So even if, say for example, like the UK is very multicultural. I know someone who I went to college with, who his parents emigrated here from Pakistan, I believe. So they were, I can't remember exactly what religion it was, but he didn't practice the same religion as them because he was brought up in the UK with different culture and surroundings, obviously. So say the same thing happened in China. Say a Muslim couple moved there, had a child, who they then gave a Muslim name, who then isn't Muslim. You could get arrested for not being Muslim.
It's ridiculous. It's actually terrifying.
Yeah, it's really terrifying. It's sort of it shows like the constriction that they have over the society, really, doesn't it? Because the Chinese government is like, oh no, we're not a dictatorship. People can leave whenever they want because we've got freedom of movement. But you've got freedom of movement regarding on your background.
There is a note on the bottom of the page as well for that the Chinese government has yet to comment on the findings, so they haven't actually said whether this is like true or false.
No, they've not.
They haven't denied it.
No, obviously they're not going to confirm it or close the camps anytime soon because it's China, and notoriously they don't sort of back down to the pressures from other countries. But at the same time, they haven't denied that this is the purpose, which is very interesting.
If something like that came up and you were like with them trying to hide it, obviously by telling people not to share it, you'd try and deny it.
Yeah.
But they haven't.
Yeah, they haven't even attempted to deny it, which is...
They haven't said anything about it.
Yeah, you'd think if there was a huge scandal like this on your hands, that could be like the majority of China's money comes from exportation of like goods of all sorts now. And you'd think
if
like
something like that kicked off, imagine what it could do to their economy.
You're talking like trade embargoes. It's sort of, it could ruin China's economy if the UN decided like no one's allowed to trade with China anymore. It could have huge financial. So you'd think they would at least pretend that it's nothing. Yeah. But I guess I don't know. Maybe it's a challenge. I guess we'll have to come and see. I hope it's not a challenge because that sounds very World War III-ish, and I'm not ready for that. I want to graduate before we all die in a flame of nuclear radiation. But that is the Xinjiang conspiracy theory. It's I'd say I would hazard to say that's the least conspiracy theory of all the conspiracy theories we've done.
Yeah, that's very like more like factual. Yeah. Than any of the others, which were a bit like.
They're very open to interpretation. Yeah, they're open to interpretation, but that one's very sort of the facts are very here and now. Yeah,
it's very straightforward. It's like.
Yeah, and it's happening as we speak as well, which makes it even more alarming. But that is the Xinjiang concentration camp conspiracy theory. We're going to move on to part 2 now, and we're going to talk about a very interesting character called Gary McKinnon. Now, Gary McKinnon is a Scottish computer systems administrator who in 2002 allegedly hacked 97 computers belonging to high-ranking members of the US military, armed forces and intelligence officers. It's important to mention that when he got arrested, he said that he did hack the computers, but he didn't say he hacked them maliciously. We'll go into his reasons for doing it in a sec. But when carrying out the hacks, McKinnon claims he was looking for evidence that the world governments are suppressing research for renewable energy sources and solutions. On top of this, he was looking for evidence to suggest that the government knew about the existence of aliens. McKinnon claims not only did he find evidence of both of these actively happening within the US, but he claims that he also found evidence that alien races work alongside the highest ranks of the government around the world in secret hidden roles. In particular, he says he found evidence that Majestic 12 is real. We'll talk about what Majestic 12 is a bit later.
Not gonna lie, that's quite impressive being able to hack into 97 computers of the US government's military.
Yeah, I feel like the advantage he had at the time was, of course, it was only 2002. Yeah. The internet is still relatively new. When was the internet made publicly available? Early mid-90s-ish? Yeah. Yeah, so you think it's not been around that long, so the internet is still quite primitive compared to the form it's in now. You think if you compare Windows XP to Windows 97, it's the different world, isn't it? But I feel like he had that in his advantage, but still, managing to hack 97 computers is insane. I mean, these computers belong to people that worked at the White House, the Pentagon, NASA. So it wasn't small fry. He was going straight to the top with these guys.
Straight for the top of the food chain there.
Yeah, and like he said, he denied hacking it maliciously. He said he was just there looking to show that the government was lying to people, basically. And then we'll see what the consequences of that were in the timeline of events that we're going to talk about now.
So, shortly after, in 2002, the US government issued a warrant for McKinnon's arrest and accused him of committing the biggest military computer hack of all time. This course of action was also agreed upon by NASA, who were also affected by the computer attack. After 3 years of legal tussles and pressure from the US government, Gary McKinnon was arrested by British police in 2005. In 2006, then, Home Secretary John Reid signed a form officially extraditing McKinnon. But in 2012, Home Secretary and now former Prime Minister Theresa May blocked all forms and prevented the US from having him. The battle against the US's orders to extradite him and trial him in their country lasted for 10 years, until eventually in 2012, America's official call to have him extradited was blocked by British Parliament. 3 months later, he learned that he would not face charges in the UK either, meaning he missed the potential 70-year prison sentence and $2 million worth of damages that the US wanted to prosecute him with.
Yeah, so out of all the dodged bullets in history,
yeah,
I feel like
massive.
that is the most dodged. That's not dodging a bullet, that's dodging a mortar shell.
Yeah, 70 years.
Yeah, 70 years in prison.
And $2 million as well.
Yeah, I don't understand how they would expect a computer systems administrator to pay them $2 million, but there you go. Especially in 2002.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sort of, that was the outcome of it. He basically got away with it.
He did.
Yeah, but yeah, which is really interesting considering that he uncovered so much sensitive information. I feel like the reason he got away with it was because if he was prosecuted for it, that would mean the US would have to legitimize his claims. So so if they said like, oh, you said about renewable energy, and if he said like, well, you'd only sue me if it was true, the US would be like, he's got a point there.
But then again, they can be sued for just like hacking into it, 'cause it is private military confidential stuff.
Yeah, but then of course during the court case when they were trying him, he would mention what he found, and the US
they'd
would
have to have it as evidence.
Yeah, and the US would have to confirm under oath whether it was true or not. So I feel like he may have avoided prosecution on that basis, which helped a lot. And obviously the UK government did it. In the most part, they stuck up for him.
Yeah.
Apart from John Reid, he basically threw him under the bus in 2006. But it was a bumpy ride for a couple of years. But after 10 years of battling, he was eventually off the hook, basically. Which is, I mean, lucky him, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and also on the light-hearted note, he was actually freed of all prosecution on his mum's birthday, which I think is quite a nice touch.
Just a heads up, don't go trying this at home, people.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, don't try and hack the US military.
You're not going to get off as lightly as he did.
Yeah, it's that it can happen once, but it won't happen again.
No.
It's like it's sort of if you get you're never going to get 2 cheap shots on someone. The people learn after the first cheap shot.
Yeah.
You're not going to get another one in on them. McKinnon got the cheap shot on the US Army. The next person that tries it is not going to get a cheap shot in.
No way.
They're going to get a hard hand coming down on them if they try it. So we here at Conspiracy Crimes do not endorse the hacking of American government computers.
We do not. Please don't.
Yeah, so don't do that. And if you do try it and you source us, we're going to wash our hands of the situation. Or hide.
Yeah.
Probably hide.
Yeah, that's probably better.
Okay, yeah, anyway. We mentioned he confirmed the existence of Majestic 12 by uncovering some secret documents. I'm going to talk about what Majestic 12 is now. As if you're quite new to alien conspiracies and government cover-ups, then they may not be a familiar name. So according to theories, Majestic 12 is a secret US military sector who were formed by President Harry Truman in 1947. He comes up a lot on the show, doesn't he, Harry Truman?
Yeah, he does.
He was on Philadelphia Experiment as well.
Yeah.
A bit like Solon, who comes up in loads of shows too. He was in Atlantis and Sphinx. But yeah, I'm sure he'll probably come up again at some point as well. Who knows? But yeah, he allegedly commissioned this sector in 1947, shortly after the Roswell UFO incident, which I'm sure, even if you're not an avid ufologist, then you would have heard of the Roswell crash. It's like the most infamous UFO crash possibly ever.
Which is something we have talked about a little bit on this show as well.
Yeah, we've touched on it here and there. And it will be coming up again when we do Bob Lazar after Christmas in the new year.
Yeah, it will be.
But the government sector is said to be made up of high-ranking officials in the military, central government, Pentagon, and scientists to handle the collection and experimentation of spaceship remains. Supposedly, this became public knowledge in 1984 when a round of leaked documents appeared to be dated in the 1950s, detailed the existence of this secret government organisation. In response to this, in 1984, this is by the way, the FBI said that the documents were, and I quote, completely bogus, and stated that they were part of a hoax that had nothing to do with the government. Just a perspective, a government source saying the word bogus seems very weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that weighs into the conspiracy at all, but can you imagine if Boris Johnson stood up in Parliament and went, Corbyn, your claims are completely bogus.
I mean, he'd do that
like,
anyway.
What? The word, I don't know, the word bogus just seems like a very informal way of handling such a big issue.
Almost like childish language.
It seems like a very informal way of handling it. It's almost like they weren't taking it seriously. But Majestic 12 has appeared in popular culture regularly since these files came forward, such as the Men in Black film was loosely based on Majestic 12. It's featured in some of the X-Files episodes as one of the main series, and it was also a army unit on the PlayStation 2 game Destroy Humans, if you remember that one.
I think I do.
Yeah, I think they're remaking it now. But yeah, it was a great game. I really liked it. But yeah, so they've got a lot of cultural relevance there. But in an interview, I couldn't find out what year this happened, but my guess would be it was after he got let off the hook, basically. So I'd guess it's between sort of 2015 and 2018 this interview happened. So, in an interview, McKinnon said that amongst other things, he found an Excel spreadsheet entitled Non-Terrestrial Officers. It listed the names of several people, but McKinnon couldn't find the names on the internet. There were also a list of ships. He googled the ship names, and again, nothing came up. As a result, McKinnon knew these were not officially registered personnel or ships within the US military. Interestingly, some of the names on this Excel document corresponded exactly with the supposed fake Majestic 12 documents from 1984. So this so-called fake document coincides perfectly with a real document.
That's very suspicious.
It is. It's a bit convenient, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, so you've either got they're both fake or they're both real. And the thought of NASA having fake documents on their computer just in case someone hacks them seems kind of weird.
Yeah, no.
I feel like NASA wouldn't anticipate anyone getting that far into their system.
So the next thing we're going to be covering is the Johnson Space Center files. During his hack, McKinnon said that the most shocking files he ever found were on a computer at the NASA Johnson Space Center. Within a folder titled Unfiltered, he spotted a high-resolution photo of a NASA satellite photo. He quotes, "I double-clicked on this image and it loaded very slowly, but I could see this tubular, classic cigar-shaped UFO."
Yeah, again, we've got the... if you listen to our Capustignard episode last week, you'll know that there's a little theme growing here of cigar-shaped UFOs, which is sort of... When I watched him say that it was cigar-shaped, I was like, oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's all linking together.
Yeah, it's all sort of coming together very slowly, piece by piece.
He said he was unsure whether it was a UFO or if it was an unknown secret space project being conducted by NASA. Either way, it was information that was being withheld from the public. He quotes, "Whilst I was sitting there downloading the photo, I saw the mouse move across the screen, close the image and disconnect the internet so the download did not successfully finish." When interviewed exclusively by Wired magazine in 2006, McKinnon said, "I knew that government suppressed anti-gravity, UFO-related technology, free energy, or what they call zero-point energy. This should not be kept hidden from the public when pensioners can't pay their fuel bills."
Yeah, so you've got his intent, you've got his motives in sight there. You can understand what he was trying to do, and by aiming for this one thing, he opened up such a big can of worms.
He did. just trying to share some public knowledge and finding all this stuff. That'd be a bit.
Yeah, and explaining the bit of the mouse, he was hacking the computers remotely from London, which is basically like where we sit now, where there's a monitor in front of me and a monitor in front of Abby, but I've got the mouse, so if I move the mouse on mine, it moves on Abby's screen as well. It's basically that concept, but from like England to America, and he said that he was using quite primitive technology. Even at the time, it was quite primitive. He said that when you double click the image, it was loading very slowly. Remember when old computers used to start with the picture just sort of at the top and it would scale down like that with the picture? He said it was doing that, and it had to do that like 3 times of slowly increasing resolution even.
That's insane.
Yeah, and but that was the way he had to do it to sort of try and avoid being tracked. But then, of course, when he got caught doing it remotely, they managed to pinpoint his location and warranted his arrest.
Which is understandable.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna hack top secret military files, expect a bit of repercussion when they catch you red-handed.
Yeah.
But he mentioned a thing in his quote called 0 point energy. This was a thing that I personally wasn't familiar with because, basically I'm not an expert on quantum physics, so.
I'd be a bit amazed if you were.
Yeah, I'm an expert on quantum physics, so I just decided to study music journalism at uni instead, rather than getting like a guaranteed master's off the back of instant knowledge. But 0 point energy, this may seem like a really weird conspiracy thing of like the same way antimatter is and stuff like that. Like people can say like, oh, that's like a made up concept, but 0 point energy is real. It is the lowest possible energy that a quantum mechanism can have. But scientists have long rejected the idea that 0 point energy could ever have any practical use. Despite this rejection by the scientific community, harnessing 0 point energy remains an interest of research by non-scientific entities, particularly in the US, where it has attracted the attention of major aerospace and defense contractors, and the US Department of Defense as well. Other countries such as China, Germany, Russia and Brazil have also invested into this. So if it's so useless, why are so many world's biggest governments so heavily invested in trying to get something out of it? You'd think out of all of the people involved with science and that, you think the government would be the first people to sort of come to grips with like, this isn't possible.
Yeah, especially if scientists have said there's no practical use for it.
Yeah, science.
You'd think they'd listen, but then again,
scientists have continually said that there's no practical use for 0 point energy, but the government continues to research it, which is a contradiction, a big one really. So you've got the choice of either A, the government isn't listening to scientists, or B, the government's telling scientists to say that so they can carry on research privately.
True.
So they're your 2 options there really. But in 1984, theoretical science has proposed that a process called Casimir batteries could put 0 point energy into real-life situations. This is the concept that 2 electronically charged plates can be hit into each other inside a vacuum, and the electromagnetic force within them ensures they can force themselves apart again using the theory of 0 point energy. So without having to input any extra energy into them, they can sort of continue this instant recurring motion.
I think I've heard about this.
Yeah, and they can generate more energy every time. So it's basically a free energy source, which is huge if it's real. Because you think like the amount of energy that we currently consume on the planet, whether it be in fuel or electricity or some other form, that we consume energy all the time. I mean, even as we sit here right now, you've got the computers, the mics, the keyboard desk, the lights. There's energy everywhere. You've not gone a day in your life without using energy. I would say even an hour in your life without using energy while you're awake.
Especially not with modern technology as it is.
No, definitely not. And the thought that we could get all of that for free, readily available as well, is huge.
No.
But
of course, there is more to it than that, but I don't think you guys want the rest of the show to be a lecture on quantum physics, really.
Yeah, as we've already established, I have no background knowledge at all on quantum physics. Like, genuinely, those 2 paragraphs you heard there is the extent of my knowledge. If you want to learn about quantum physics, you're probably in the wrong place.
Yeah.
But yet again, I doubt
We're not
you.
experts.
Yeah, I doubt you came here with the expectation of like, oh, I really hope they're nailed down on quantum physics this week. They've been missing that last couple of weeks. And yeah, in fairness, we have been missing it the last couple of weeks, and we're going to carry on missing it in future weeks as well.
I think it bought us as well as you guys doing that all the time.
Yeah.
We do like to keep it a bit, whilst it is very wordy, we do like to try and keep it a bit fun and interesting for you guys.
Yeah, because, like you said, we try and keep it fun, we try and keep it mixed up a little bit. That's, so we don't want to sort of bore you out with all of the little petty and nitty-gritty details of the science behind it.
Otherwise, we'd be here for eternity, I think.
Yeah, that's like with the Philadelphia experiment, episode 1. We had to split the science into 2 halves.
Yeah.
It's obviously that's
long.
That's obviously a very sciencey subject of like the teleportation and stuff. If you've not watched that video, then that is on our YouTube channel along with episodes 2 and 3. So make sure you check that out as well.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, they are very good. Episode 2 is only me presenting that one because Abby was ill. Just give you a heads up on that one. So that's why that one's slightly shorter. But
it's doing an hour to yourself.
That's
so hard.
I wouldn't recommend. Like a full hour of just talking to a mic. My mouth is so dry. I mean, even doing a regular show, my mouth gets pretty dry, to be honest.
That's why you bring liquids.
Yeah, I think the fact I've had about 4 cups of tea today hasn't really helped either.
Right, we've gone a bit off topic here.
Yeah, we have gone off topic.
So
we've got 2 more small bits of detail for you, and then we can have a bit of reflection at the end as we've got some spare time.
But these are some, like, kind of important people to this theory. So we've got 2 names of important people for this theory. The first being Robert M. Wood, PhD. Ooh, he's got a PhD, fancy.
Yeah, he's a doctor. How about that?
This ex-aerospace manager has come forward supporting the claim that Majestic 12 is real. He quotes, "Majestic 12, in my judgment, has permitted us to spend a huge amount of money, trillions of dollars. My most recent conclusion is that some of those trillions of dollars have been used to take the technology we have discovered and build gravity-controlled devices that we would see, sometimes as UFOs. In my opinion, if you look into the sky now and see one, it's a 50-50 chance that it's either one of ours or one of theirs."
Just give that quote a moment to sink in. He said it's either one of ours or one of theirs.
That's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, but the one of theirs bit is what gets me. Not only is he's a guy who clearly knows what he's talking about, an ex-aerospace manager for NASA with a PhD. He's not just some average Joe they've pulled off the street to like, here, talk about aliens.
No,
this is a guy that has a huge decorated career. You can look him up. He's had a massive career in his time. And ex-aerospace manager, I mean, he's getting on a bit now, but I think he's got to be sort of late 70s, early 80s as an estimate, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, just one of ours or one of theirs.
Yeah, it's sort of...
Oh, that's a creepy way to put that.
Yeah, when I was watching the interview with him when he said that, I felt myself shudder a little bit. I was like, oh, no, that's not right. One of ours or one of theirs. And the other bit that gets me is... in my judgment, Majestic 12 has permitted us to spend a huge amount of money, trillions of dollars. So they're sort of, like the American government, there was a famous story quite a few years ago now where there was a big vacuum in spending at Area 51. And I think the official story was the American government said they spent $8 million on a hammer or something like that.
What?
That's the way that they covered up the vacuum in their budget, apparently.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and they also did... I'm not sure how true this is, but apparently they said that they were doing research to show that the sun turns tomatoes red. And that costs them like X amount of millions of dollars.
Ooh,
so they just...
That's weird.
I mean, I could have told you that for free, America.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone that has been anywhere near a field in their lifetime in the past 1,000 years could have told you that.
Yeah.
But,
we know, guys.
Yeah. But I mean, it is... really strange, but that quote I feel like is sort of that puts a whole new perspective on all of it.
Yeah,
because before
really
that it's like it could just be that McKinnon sort of he knew it had been busted, so he sort of thought of a cool story to make him seem like he wasn't just hacking them. But it's clear that he had his motives when he said like renewable energy shouldn't be kept hidden from the public. So it's clear he had those distinctive motives, which allowed him to carry out his hack. And yeah, the final one we've got is a man called Corey Good. Sadly, this man doesn't quite have the academic magnetism of Robert M. Wood, but he's still a very interesting person. He is a government whistleblower, and according to Corey, the US government has clear knowledge and proof that over 60 different groups of non-terrestrial or extraterrestrial beings exist. Some of these groups are actively communicating and working with world governments right now.
I mean, you'd kind of expect that if there is other life out there.
Yeah.
One, that they try and get in contact, and two, that some form of communication would happen.
Yeah,
but
I mean...
to think about that people are actually, like, now coming around to being like, yeah, this is happening. Like, both him and Robert M. Wood saying it's either one of theirs or one of ours.
Yeah.
It's a bit like... Oh, what's the word?
Don't know.
The word's lost to me.
That's right, I'm sure it will come to you. But yeah, it's
It's a bit surreal. That's the word I was looking for. It's a bit surreal to think like this is happening.
Yeah, it is. It's but over 60 groups of non-terrestrial beings. That's a lot.
I mean, when you think about it, you think, oh yeah, there's definitely like maybe one or two, but to say 60.
Yeah, it's. And you think that's just ones that are within contact of us. There's no knowing how many that we've not discovered are out there.
That's insane.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing that annoys me with people that say they don't believe in aliens, they're like, oh, we would have found them by now. It's like, but you look at the size of the universe. The universe
it's ever expanding.
it is inexplicably huge. You cannot comprehend the size of the universe. It is absolutely extortionate how big the universe is. Like, one thing I've heard is this is quite weird. Like, there are more grains of sand on the average beach than there are stars in the universe, and there are more atoms in a grain of sand than there are grains of sand on the beach.
I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's sort of, when you consider that, like, the universe is immense.
Yeah.
Like, I went to a science convention when I was at secondary school. I was only 15 or 16 at the time, and it was this university lecturer. Huh?
Nothing.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll hear that one on post-editing.
Oh yeah.
Cut it out.
Aww.
But yeah, I was like 15 or 16, this science convention. The university lecturer there, he'd written a book and stuff. He said, when you hold your thumb up to the night sky, the size of your thumbnail represents 1,000 galaxies, the same size as the Milky Way.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Doesn't that just make you feel tiny and insignificant?
Yeah, it makes you feel very insignificant. Makes the fact I'm looking at the clock going, oh, we've got 5 minutes left. It's like, who cares? Yeah. But it makes you, it sort of puts into perspective how big the universe is when you think about that. And the thing that annoys me is the size of the universe. There's got to be at least, even if only 0.1% of all the planets in the universe have life on them. That is still tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of species and races that are out there, intelligent races as well.
But you've got to think of not just like intelligent life forms, like how many life forms exist on just this planet alone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you think on this planet alone there's so many species.
We haven't
on the
discovered
planet.
them all yet.
No, I know, we're still discovering them, especially like sort of deep sea animals.
Yeah, because we know more about the universe than we do our own oceans.
Yeah.
This is so off topic to our conspiracy.
No, it's not. I think it's good when conspiracies go off on a tangent. I think it sort of shows that there's depth to them.
Yeah, it makes it more fun.
Yeah, if we just stick to the script the whole way through, it sort of shows that I've had to scrape. Well, it's not a script; it's a note set. But
we do follow them quite heavily. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing to have in front of you, because there's no way I would remember 5 A4 pages of notes.
No way.
I mean, last week was 7, so we managed to cut it down quite a bit this week. But yeah, I had less time to do it this week, but I feel like we've still managed to get quite a lot of information in.
We have.
Yeah, but yeah, of course, odds on are that there is at least one other alien species out there.
Yeah.
And Earth, we've had, like last week on the Kapustin Yar episode, we talked about in the year 950 AD that Russian merchants talked about seeing space battles, as they put it, in the sky above them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's been going on for
much longer than that.
Than we can think.
Yeah, well, you think the Secret Sphinx Dream episode as well last week, where we talked about the potential of them being built by intelligent life beyond Earth, and the actual age of the Sphinx being much older than what is scientifically acknowledged. And that's it shows that there's got to be something out there.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
It links back to him hacking, because if something like this was happening, which most likely it is, you'd want to know about it. You'd want your government to tell you what's going on. So he just hacked it and found this out and tried to reveal it to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is reasoning, he has motive for trying to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't understand why they would keep it a secret. Like, they really trust us that little. But I mean, the thing is, obviously there's going to be a bit of moral panic if suddenly the government goes forward and says, yeah, aliens are real, they're in the government, we've been working with them.
Hi, yes, there is aliens.
Yeah, ETs are real.
So many people are going to a panic.
Yeah,
so I think that might be one of the reasons why they'd cover it up.
Yeah, but the thing is, if they had been honest to us in the beginning about the fact that they existed, then there'd be no need for moral panic.
We wouldn't be that surprised.
Yeah, the people wouldn't be that shocked if it had sort of just been gradually spoon-fed to us over the course of several decades.
Yeah.
Rather than now, everyone kind of knows, but we know there is, but at the same time we know it's never going to be confirmed.
Yeah.
But whereas if one day they suddenly do confirm it, it's going to be mind-blowing.
It is.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, that is the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Sadly, we have run out of time to discuss it further, because to be honest, I think we could both talk about this all day.
Oh, I'd love to.
Talking about theories of this.
Yeah, it would be incredible. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in.
Yes,
we have just one more episode before we go off for Christmas break. Well, next week we will be doing our full 1 hour feature episode, which is on one specific conspiracy theory, where one in every 4 episodes is just a full episode on one particular thing. Next week's
would be a nice way to round off at Christmas as well.
Yeah,
have
definitely.
A nice full episode.
We're going to be looking at the JFK assassination.
Ooh, that's going to be fun.
It's a personal favourite of mine. It is the conspiracy theory that got me into conspiracy theories, like JFK, the Oliver Stone film. I know it's a bit theatrical compared to the actual story, but that is kind of where my interest in conspiracies comes from. And it's just
it's going to be a good one.
It's going to be great. Definitely. There's so much to talk about. I was looking at the JFK backstory and I was like, how are we going to fit this into an hour? There's so much to go. But
yeah, that will be next week for you guys.
Yeah, so make sure you tune in next week. It'll be the same time, same place, of course, right here on Radio Hud from 5 till 6. This episode will be on YouTube before then. And yeah, thank you very much for tuning in once again. I've been Aaron Chandler.
I've been Abigail Murphy.
Yeah, so thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll be back next week.
Bye.
See you then.